Good morning, everyone. If you're new here, my name is Aiden, and this is Lacey Lens. Today, we're going to be heading on an adventure to see a temple in the countryside of Japan. But first, I have to catch a train headed toward a small town called Hakui to catch a bus. I'm so excited that you're here, and I hope that you'll enjoy tagging along with me today. Well, here we are, on the countryside. After taking the train, I took a bus and it dropped me off on the side of the road. Luckily, the road I followed had an incredible view. Let me show you. If you had the chance to check out my last video, I mentioned that one of the main reasons that I came to Japan this year was to actually check out the cherry blossoms, to catch a glimpse. Walking down this path filled me with an immense sense of joy, and I almost couldn't contain myself. The blossoms mixed with this pond, with the sound of frogs and chirping of birds and other unknown sounds was almost too much to behold. But here, let's take a listen. This was my first time walking this far out in the countryside. It really surprised me by how few people were around. The weather was in the low 70s, and luckily there was enough cloud cover to overshadow the sun. The steps leading up to the temple are guarded by human-like warriors called Nio or Kongorikishi. They are tasked with defending the grounds. Once I was inside the grounds, I was absolutely floored. It was beautiful. I learned later that the statue of the man you see is of Saint Nichizo, who is the founder of the temple in 1294. It was said that this location was chosen by Nichizo's master, Nichiren, who founded the location after being exiled and wandering around the countryside. As I wandered around the grounds, I was surprised to see so many cherry blossoms with petals in bloom. I fully expected the grounds to be littered with the fallen blossoms since I was about a week late for full bloom. It was a happy occurrence to see them. Outside of that, I also noticed that there was hardly anyone on the grounds, so it really felt like I was able to soak in the history of this place. I find the Japanese architecture is so striking and impressive, giving the intricacies of the wooden designs. It always blows my mind. As I headed toward the back of the temple grounds, I saw that there were many gravestones as well. I continued along the path, and I saw a building. I found that inside the temple location, there were large statues inside. I also noticed that there was a local, older Japanese woman who was going to the same place that I was. I greeted her good morning, and I stood inside to take in the smells and behold the beauty of this place. I tried to be quiet, as she actually began praying while I was there. From what I could tell through my broken Japanese knowledge, She was praying over her family and for good health. It was beautiful to be able to see all of the different things that were inside the temple. I got to see little fortunes, I got to see statues, and really just take in being in this place. There were also many incense burning that gave off quite a fragrant smell. After she got done praying, she went outside, and I followed pretty closely behind her. She went one way to continue praying at a different location. And I was heading for my main event. I wanted to see the giant pagoda that was overseeing the entire grounds. The large structure I'm walking up to is called the pagoda. It's a 5-story building that was built in 1618. The tower stands at about 115 feet tall. After I left the temple, I learned later that the pagoda is considered a reliquary, also called a shrine or holy container. The 5 tiers of a pagoda are a distinction of the 5 elements in Buddhist cosmology: earth, water, wind, and space. It was fascinating to learn about. I spent a bit more time wandering around the grounds as I continued to just be absorbed in the location. Myojoji was absolutely breathtaking. I would highly recommend it to anybody to go there. It was a lot smaller than I had anticipated, but it definitely felt very different from all of the big temples that you typically see in Tokyo or Kyoto. I was starting to get a little bit hungry, so I decided it was probably time to get ready to go. As I was leaving the grounds, I noticed that there was a beautiful roofed walkway, and so I headed down that way towards the entrance. If you ever have the chance to go to Kanazawa and have time for a nice 2-hour journey outside, I would highly recommend checking out Myojoji. It is a beautiful grounds, and it's in a quiet area, so you can enjoy the place to yourself, most likely, depending on the season. I also found that there was a cafe at the entrance, and so I stopped in to see if I could get some tea and some sweets.
I just left Myojoji. I realized that the bus was not going to be here until about 2 p.m. So I decided I'm going to walk back to Hakui Station, which is about a 2-hour walk. And lo and behold, I come across a hawk, a massive hawk. I think he's flying behind me right now. You might be able to see him. And some crows, or larger crows, I don't know. They were beautiful. But they were eating something, and I spooked them like crazy, and they flew away. Had I known they were there, I definitely would have gone and tried to get a better photo of them, but what can you do? This is my view right now, walking along the side of the road. I can't say that I've not been accustomed to doing this before, but look at the ocean. I don't know if you can see it from here, but it looks absolutely stunning. You see some sakura trees, and there's a little moat and river. It's beautiful.
While I was heading back to the train station, I caught a glimpse of a sakura tree in what appeared to be a temple. So I headed down the road past rice paddy fields to get a better look. When I got to the location, the temple appeared to be located in someone's backyard. I was a little bit skeptical. I looked around and I didn't see anyone. The building didn't seem to be open, so I took a few photos and then I headed on my way. I didn't want to be a burden to anyone at the temple, and I still had a pretty long walk, over an hour and a half, to get back to the station area. So I quickly turned around and started heading back towards where I came from. I completely forgot to mention that when I started my walk back from Myojoji, I ended up running into a little old woman. She waved me down off the side of the road and asked me where I was from. She could tell immediately that I was from the States. She said, in broken English, "You, on TV." I laughed and I said, yes, that's me. And then we had a very brief, broken conversation, and I told her that I was heading toward Hakui Station. She actually waved me down again, and then she said to me she had something for me. She pulled out of her little purse a giant energy drink. I was a little bit skeptical at first to stop and get a drink from a random person, but she seemed really nice, and so I took it. I looked later on my phone and found that it was actually an older mineral drink with a lot of caffeine, which probably powered my walk. Honestly, super grateful to that woman for giving it to me. I learned that Hakui is one of Japan's alien sighting hotspots, and they have a pretty large space museum. As you can see, the Space Museum kind of looks like a UFO. Let's check it out. Once inside the space station, tickets were purchased on the first floor. They were pretty cheap, under 1,000 yen, which was probably around $7. The second floor houses the main exhibit. Once going through the gate, you get to see a long board of astronauts and scientists that assisted in the creation of the space race. I was able to see so many faces that I'd never seen before, and it was cool to get a lay of the land. Directly to the right of the entrance on the second floor was a faithful representation of the Apollo command module, which was about a 10 cubic meter cone that was the capsule that assisted in the transportation of 3 astronauts to the moon, which showcased the cramped conditions that they had on early space missions. The large spherical device behind the US module was actually a real battle-scarred space capsule from the Soviet Union. It still had plenty of cracks and clear char marks from when it came back into Earth's atmosphere. Other than real spacesuits and the modules that you saw before, the Hakui Space Museum has a real-life lunar driving prototype on 100-year permanent loan to the city from the NASA Johnson Space Center. Oh shoot, that scared me. It looks like we're not alone here anymore after all. As you can see, there's a little green Martian from Mars. I wasn't able to capture everything on video, so I took a few pictures just to commemorate what I saw, especially since I didn't expect to see anything like this in the middle of Japan, but it was a great time. After the museum, it was actually pretty close to when the train was arriving, so I headed that way. I got changed and found a nice local Gyoza restaurant near Kanazawa Station. The first thing I ordered was a giant glass of Highball, which is whiskey and club soda. Kanpai for making it through the day. This was just what I needed. My first order was a set of quail eggs. I had never actually seen quail eggs before this. I was surprised at how small they were. But they were quite tasty. They had some sort of spicy sauce on them, and I added a little bit more. I also ordered edamame, which is one of my favorite things to eat as well. Then the main course came, Gyoza. Oh my goodness, I got so many varieties. I got your plain variety, I got a cheese variety, I even got spicy. And then I added my own chili sauce on the top as well. Man, this was a reward for a fun day. After I had my fill of gyoza, I headed back to my hotel and got packed up for the next stop. I can't wait to show you. Join me as we go to explore Nagano Prefecture. See you next time.